Racist cops punch Black Army general. What happened next will shock you. The shocking encounter: Andrew Phillips, a Black Army general, pulled over and assaulted by officers. What would you do if someone judged you by your appearance, without knowing your true identity? That's exactly what happened to Andrew Phillips, a high-ranking Army general working undercover, during an incident that sparked nationwide outrage. On a seemingly ordinary day, Andrew, dressed in simple jeans, a t-shirt, and short dreadlocks, became the target of an encounter that shouldn't have happened. His appearance shouldn't have mattered, but to the two officers that night, it was all they saw. What do you think happened next? Would you have stayed calm if someone dismissed your worth based on a stereotype? Andrew was driving an unmarked car, blending in as part of his undercover assignment. When he pulled into a quiet gas station to refuel, the lot was nearly empty, with just a few scattered cars. He didn't give the nearby police cruiser a second thought. After all, he wasn't doing anything wrong. But as soon as he stepped out of his car, the cruiser's red and blue lights lit up the night.
"Hey, you.
Get back in your vehicle," a loud voice barked. Andrew froze, glancing over his shoulder to confirm the officer was addressing him. "Is there a problem, officer?" he asked calmly. "Did I tell you to ask questions?" the officer snapped. "License and registration."
Now.
How would you feel in that moment? Would you comply or ask for an explanation? Andrew moved carefully, retrieving his documents from the car and handing them over. But as the officer scanned them, his expression darkened. "What are you doing around here? You don't look like you belong," the officer sneered. "I'm just heading home. I stopped for gas, that's all," Andrew replied evenly. But his words only seemed to fuel the officer's aggression. "Step out of the car." Andrew hesitated but complied, knowing resistance could escalate the situation. Standing tall, his dreadlocks swayed gently in the breeze as he exited the vehicle. The officer's partner approached, his hand hovering near his holster. "What's in the car? Drugs? Weapons?" "There's nothing illegal in my car," Andrew said firmly. "Don't get smart with me," the officer snapped before lunging forward. What would you do at that moment? Would you stand your ground, fight back, or keep your composure? A fist connected with Andrew's chest, forcing him backward. He raised his hands to show he wasn't resisting. "You're assaulting me without cause," he said firmly, his voice carrying the authority of his rank. "This isn't how the law works." Resisting arrest, one officer yelled, twisting Andrew's arm and shoving him against the car. The scene unfolded in front of stunned onlookers, some of whom began recording on their phones. "Leave him alone. He didn't do anything wrong," a woman shouted. With his face pressed against the hood of his car, Andrew remained calm. "You're making a mistake," he said. "I'm a United States Army general, and this will not go unnoticed." The officer froze, disbelief flashing across his face, but then scoffed.
"Yeah, right.
"And I'm the president,
too."
The truth revealed ****. Officers learn Andrew's true identity. Can you imagine the humiliation Andrew must have felt? How would you handle being disrespected like this after dedicating your life to serving your country? Andrew was hauled into the back of the cruiser, despite protests from the crowd. As the car sped toward the station, Andrew stayed silent, his mind racing. He knew his rights and understood that this wasn't over. At the station, things took a darker turn. Instead of booking him, the officers dragged him into a back room, questioning him with hostility. "What's your deal? Where are you from? You're not fooling anyone," one officer sneered. Andrew stared back, unflinching. "I've told you the truth. I'm a general in the United States Army. Check the ID I gave you." They ignored him. Minutes turned into hours. Andrew, still handcuffed to a chair, grew increasingly frustrated. Finally, his patience wore thin. "Call your superior officer," he demanded.
"Now."
The officers laughed. "Oh, you think you're in charge?" Before they could say more, a phone call shattered their arrogance. The station chief entered the room, his face pale. "Uncuff him." Immediately, the officers exchanged confused glances. "What's going on?" "Do it," the chief barked. As Andrew stood and rubbed his wrists, the chief extended a hand. "General Phillips, I'm so sorry for what happened. This is unacceptable." The officer's jaws dropped. "Wait, he's serious," one of them stammered. "Yes, he is," Andrew replied coldly. "You just assaulted a high-ranking officer in the United States military. Do you have any idea what that means?" Justice delivered ***, the aftermath and accountability for the officers. What do you think should happen to these officers? Should they lose their jobs? Face criminal charges? What kind of accountability would you want to see? The fallout was swift. Videos recorded by witnesses went viral within hours, sparking public outrage. The officers involved were immediately suspended without pay pending an investigation. Andrew filed a formal complaint to ensure their actions would be reviewed at the highest levels. "This isn't just about me," he said during a televised statement. "It's about the systemic issues that allow this kind of behavior to persist. We need accountability. We need change." The officers were ultimately fired and faced charges for assault and misconduct. The police department issued a public apology and implemented new training programs to address racial bias and de-escalation tactics. But is that enough? Would you forgive the officers if they showed remorse, or would you push for harsher consequences? Andrew's story became a rallying cry, sparking conversations nationwide about racism, profiling, and abuse of power. Though he never sought the spotlight, his courage in the face of injustice inspired millions. So, what would you do if this happened to you? Would you stay silent or fight for justice? If you've watched this far, comment which country you're watching from and leave 100 points in the comments because you're the type of person who finishes what they start. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to get notified whenever we drop new videos.